commercial-free Catholic charismatic channel.
He's strengthening the faith of so many people.
To promote the gift of church teaching, dedicated for the new evangelization.
God's blessings on your work. May God bless and prosper you.
Shalom World, God's own channel.
Glory to Jesus Christ. Welcome again to Going Back to School. That, of course, means we're going back to retrieve that sacramental, Catholic, human, liturgical, see, S.C.H.L, school, worldview. We're putting on these sacramental glasses, special glasses in which we see all of life through this lens, the lens of the sacramental, where we see the invisible, things invisible, God, love, life. We see those invisible things become visible through the very physical order of creation. And right now we're looking at that aspect of creation known as the human person, especially man and woman. We said last time that as we look at the very construction, the very way that a man and woman is created, there's a certain language or theology of their bodies, of their very bodies. Everything in creation speaks about itself. Physicality reveals something beyond itself. And we mentioned, for instance, drawing upon some of our art, our artist's work, that when an artist draws the human body, for instance here, a woman, he does so through a certain grouping of concentricities, meaning that a female body has this sense of connectedness, of this kind of action, this kind of motion. And we said about the man is a little bit different. He has more of an outward, an externality to the physiology, the language of his body. The two are complementary. But in looking at the bodies and listening to the language, really looking at them sacramentally, through these glasses, we look at each other as man and woman. We decode that language of the body. And we learn then why we're a man and a woman, how we're hardwired, and therefore how we can be that for each other. The theology of the body reveals God. We mentioned last time that a woman's very body speaks of the immanence, the connectedness, the relationality, the tenderness of God, whereas a man's body speaks about the outwardness, the transcendence, the power, the awesomeness of God. And the two go together to communicate to us in our very bodies, while we're made man and female, that God is transcendent and immanent. He is powerful and tender, out there and here all at the same time, not either or, but both and. You see this in every aspect of our being man and woman, even the way we act. For example, if you ever watch how men and women interact differently, even with little children or babies, because of a woman's construction of her very body, her whole physiology, she'll tend to pick up a child or a baby like this and draw it to herself. Her arms are this way, her shoulders, the whole body is designed to bring things together, to accommodate the environment, integration, intimacy, connectedness, relationality. Ever watch how men interact with babies? They generally don't pick them up like this. What do? Hey, look at this. This is my kid. See that? Hey, how about that? Ready? It's like an amusement park. From both aspects, from the mother to the father, the child is already learning and experiencing two complementary realities about God and about life, about the faith journey. That God is close, loving, and tender. There's a safe place. Mother communicates that. But there's also a God who is going to challenge us like Dad. Can you trust me? I'm going to let you go. It's kind of exciting and scary all at the same time. And that's what the Father brings to the experience of the child. And the two together, just how they interact with the child, will already be communicating something about God to that child and about life, about the faith journey. Whenever that child is playing, and a child may fall down and get hurt, Mom will be much more quicker to comfort the child, to run to it. fathers by nature will actually pause a little bit. They'll actually allow a little bit of space for that child to kind of develop or realize their own strength. Dad might even say, oh, no, it's okay. You're all right. It's not so bad. Come on, get up. So we have two sides then of reality, that comforting close side, the tender side, and also the harder side, the side that's out there, that's going to challenge us to trust Daddy, not only Dad, but Dad is going to symbolize God the Father. Can we trust God in our faith journey? But we also know that this God who will challenge us, sometimes we think he's not going to catch us. He dangles us out there. Is at the same time a God who is going to be right there with us. Both and. God reveals himself precisely through the fact that he created human beings, male and female. And he reveals through that, the very language of our body, his own transcendence and his immanence. And as we move more and more into that vision of seeing man and woman and how they're complementary, how they reveal God, we begin to see, and as we decode that language of the body, what each other's legitimate needs are as man and woman. And conversely, what our worst fears are as man and woman. I think I mentioned before that I often get phone calls for marriage counseling. Of course, it always comes from usually the woman. Guys don't like to go to counseling. They don't like to talk that much about problems. But the woman will call. And I'll say, okay, try to bring your husband in. He's usually resistant, but generally they come in. And I'll ask them, okay, tell me what can I do for you? What are you hurting? What are your problems? And they'll start to tell me, she will generally. At the end, I'll say to them, I got good news for you. No such thing as a marriage problem. No. See, when you go back to school, you unlearn things. Part of learning is unlearning. No such thing as a marriage problem. Never saw a marriage problem in my life. What I have seen, though, is a problem in a man knowing why he's a man, why she's a woman. A problem in her knowing why she's a woman, why he's a man, and how to be that for each other. That's where the problem is. But that problem is easily solved, actually, when we look at each other, put on those sacramental glasses, and we start to decode and look at each other, the language and theology of the body. If we said that a woman's body, her whole physiology, her whole makeup is designed for this, for bringing things together. And we said she had a genius within her, that space that we know is the womb, giving her that gift of receptivity. And I'm going to ask this to the guys. And guys, you got to know this. Just contemplating, seeing sacramentally the very body of womanhood. If all this about it is true, what we said, what is that going to tell you about what she needs most from you? Yes, she needs to be relationally fulfilled. Remember, her body is designed to take in, to receive, to be filled with what? With love, with your sense of presence, like you get inside of her feminine spirituality. She knows that you're connected to her. Conversely, what is her greatest fear going to be? You got it. Relationally unfulfilled, abandonment, emptiness, disconnect. This is the greatest fear of womanhood. And guys, sometimes when women ask us to talk, they need words. We don't understand because we're more people of action. And so they'll want something from us that communicates to them more of our presence, our awareness of them, that they're cherished. And we don't always understand that, but it's what they need. And if you clue into that, guys, you'll begin to discover in your own behavior whether or not you're satisfying, meeting those needs of her. And conversely, not plugging into her greatest fear as a woman. What about the men? Well, if our bodies are made to act upon the environment, to hit, to push, to shove, to break down, to penetrate, to build up. You notice how often things are like a trajectile to us guys? We like to throw things, spit things. What do baby boys do whenever they get little toys and things in their hands? They always test the limits, don't they? They throw things, they kick things. They like to put things outwardly. We're designed that whole outward kind of physiology, that whole direction outward. I showed you before, the child, we like to throw things up, put things outward. We hold babies like this. What's that going to say about our need as a man? Our need as a man, gentlemen, is going to come from outside of us. We're designed for accomplishment. to accomplish a task, to see the point of something, to defend, to protect, to provide. And men need something very vital from their father first, then from the male world they grow up in, and then from their beloved, ladies. That one thing is a message. It's a message that even Jesus Christ himself got from his Father in heaven before he went out onto his ministry. Remember when Jesus was baptized? There in the river Jordan, the Holy Spirit came down upon him. The water was poured over him by John, and his Father's voice bellowed out from the heavens, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." That message that men must get first from their fathers is a message of adequacy. You've got what it takes, son. You're a man. I'm proud of you. You're the guy for the job. Let you in a little secret, ladies. If you want men to do things, put it across in terms of a mission, like they're being called out. They're the guy that can do it, the only one that can do this. Men respond to mission because we're designed for accomplishment, to act upon things, to get the job done. And we hear that message, it's very life-giving for us. But conversely, our greatest fear as men, and ladies, you need to know this, is a message of failure, of inadequacy. You know, no, I don't always tell people to watch TV, but I'm going to tell you to watch TV. That's your homework assignment. Watch a lot of TV for a day, even in a week, but with a scorecard like this. This is a scorecard. You divide it in half, male, female. And what you're going to do is you're going to watch television, especially the commercials. And what I want you to do is have a pen ready. Put a check mark in the column in whichever one, the male or the female, the man or the woman, husband or wife, whatever is being portrayed, whichever one is presented on the television through movies, shows, commercials, whichever one is presented as a useless buffoon. You're laughing. You already know the answer, don't you? Your scorecard is going to look like this, isn't it? All the check marks are going to be here, and you know it. Why is that? Because the evil one, the devil, he knows everything we're talking about. He knows since time immemorial what we need as man and woman, how to get to us, how to get to our fears, how to break us down. And what he's doing in our time, more than perhaps any other time, is breaking down men, robbing them of the one message they need to become real men, and delivering the message that cripples men. When men hear a message of failure, they're crippled. It's very difficult for them to become real men. I'll give you another clue about men, ladies. Males do not become men, real men, naturally or automatically. They need that message from outside of them, first from their fathers, then from the male world they grow up in, and then, ladies, from you, their beloved. And if you give them that message, believe me, they'll do anything for you. But without that message, they go into their man cave. That's where men go to regenerate. They go into solitude. Women do the opposite. They want to connect. They want to relate. They want to talk. That's why men don't like counseling. They don't want to talk when they're out of sorts. Things aren't going well. They want to retreat. They want to go in the cave, which is okay. But they can't stay in that cave. You know what makes them stay in that cave? If they know they come out of that cave, and you are going to give them a message that they're no good, that they're a failure. So what we want to do is want to look at each other as man and woman and do what I call taking a step in each other's direction. This is called deferential love. And to go back to an image we started out with in our series here. This is the image of the Holy Trinity, of God who is Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. All the answers are right here. We're just going to unpack this icon. It is so rich and deep. I already showed you some things about it. I want you to look at this again. Look at their heads. Their heads are bowed to each other. They're bowed to each other in love, in deferential love. In other words, they're all leaning towards one another, not towards themselves, towards one another. And this is the key for man and woman, husband and wife. First, decode that language of each other's bodies, tune into what each other needs as man and woman, not just as persons, but as man and woman, specifically as man and woman. And then take a step towards each other in trying to meet each other's needs, just like you see here in the Trinity. This is the model. You see, marriage is a venue in which two people, a husband and wife, man and woman, help to perfect each other. But you know what? They each hold the key to each other. It works like this. If the husband wants his wife to meet his needs as a man, he has to help her to do that by moving in her direction, in a sense to free her to then meet his needs. You notice what I'm doing here? It's reciprocal or reflexive. It's never either or. It's never, well, you got to do this and then we'll be happy. Or you're the bad guy or the bad girl. If you just change them, we'll be happy in this relationship. No. It's always got to be both taking a step towards one another. And vice versa. If the woman wants her man to help meet her legitimate needs, he has to unlock him. She has to free him to be able to do that by moving in the direction of his needs. So it becomes a constant reciprocal circuit of love, a constant movement towards one another after being aware of what each other needs and avoiding each other's fears. I remember one time a man was talking to me about his marriage. He said to me, you know, Father, I got my own business and I'm working another job in addition to that. I'm trying to make ends meet because you know what? My business is going out of business and I'm trying to hang on to this other job. And I got to work all these hours. I got to work 10, 12 hours a day to make this happen. And I come home and my wife is upset with me. And she criticizes me for not being around, not being home enough. And I'm just trying to hold it together. I'm trying to put food on the table. And this is the situation I'm in. And she does this to me every day. She just doesn't understand. And one day I just took my arm and I put it around her and I pressed her to my side. I said, honey, if you can do this to me, what I'm doing to you, just do this to me 1 minute out of every day and I'll do anything for you. Anything. All he wanted was to have her stop plugging into his greatest fear as a man, that he's failing, he's not adequate, and to have her send a message to him that yes, you are my knight in shining armor. Go back out there in the battle. You're doing okay. I'm behind you. I'm with you. When a man hears that, he'll do anything for you, ladies. He really will. So when we look at the theology of our bodies, we listen, we decode, we look through that sacramental lens, and we look to see what do we need as man and woman? How can I meet those needs? How can I avoid these fears? Never identify anyone as a bad guy. It's never about one or the other. It's always about the two moving towards one another. And doing so in a way in which they're always listening to each other, always watching and decoding, putting on those glasses at all time and trying to decode and see what the other person is communicating to them. Try to pick up on those things and then try to meet those clues. When we understand the theology of the body, when we look at each other through these sacramental glasses, it opens up a whole world of how to be man and woman, because it tells us why we're a man and woman, how we're hardwired, how we act in our whole being. A lot of people don't know this. They think it's this problem or that problem, think it's that person or that person. It's never that. It's never the problem we think it is. It's always a process of trying to see each other and meet each other's needs, avoid each other's fears. But overarching all of this, the thing that really makes it all work, that ties it all together, is we have to remember one thing. Especially those of you who have been married in the church. Before you were husband and wife, you were brother and sister in the Lord to each other. And always remember, it's like two planes, one in front of the other. You were brother and sister in the Lord. Then you became husband and wife. Whatever happens in this plane, husband and wife, no matter how bad it might be, no matter how hurt or offended or angry you might be for whatever reason, always remember one thing. There's something in front of that plane that was before you were husband and wife, is now, and always will be. You are brother and sister in the Lord. Ask yourselves this: how does a brother and a sister in the Lord treat one another? They do it through deferential love at all times. They never make hurt be what rules the day. They never let the hurt determine how they will be to each other. Yes, you have to work out these things, but above all, you keep in mind, through it all, as we learn to read the language of each other's bodies, learn to meet each other's needs, avoid each other's fears, above all, at all times, you are brother and sister in the Lord. And that is what we mean by a deferential love, the love of the Holy Trinity, the very love we see between Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, that always, always moves in the direction of the other.
Shalom World TV coming to Europe and coming to England. That's fantastic, so that we can get the message of the good news out to people. I think many people of all ages, particularly young people, are searching. They're looking to hear a message in their language in a way that they can understand. And good Catholic media can serve that wonderful purpose of getting that news out there and encouraging and challenging people to find out a little bit more of the story of Jesus, which sadly so many people do not know or have forgotten. So it's great to hear. It's good news of Shalom World TV coming to the UK. May the Holy Spirit shower His blessings upon your work and your ministry in serving evangelization and the spreading of the good news of Christ.
Shalom World, God's own channel.